everybody, welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and PP. That's not what it's called. Hey everybody, welcome back to Absolutely Marvel in DC. I'm Dylan, that's Dan. If you want to know what we're laughing at, tune into the streams, Mondays and Fridays when we record these. Today we're talking about Obi Wan Kenobi, Season 1, Episode 3. A very quick recap. They go back to the desert. That's your recap.
Yeah, and Vader.
Oh yeah, Vader shows up and there's a confrontation and it's a whole thing. Leia runs again.
Obi Wan runs.
Obi Wan does run. This is true. I don't know about you, but this is where this show has lost me. I did not like this episode.
It was an episode. I was kind of on the fence. I feel like it's an important episode, actually. I think this is one that you shouldn't use as a it's going to keep you or it's going to lose you, because I think this is I feel like this is the last episode in kind of really setting up the status quo of like, oh, Obi-Wan is super rusty. Mm-hmm. He knows Anakin's alive because Vader's here. And he's kind of in this panic of, I can't do anything. I haven't been training for 10 years and this guy's been on a warpath. Like I will say I'm not the biggest fan of the Sith inquisitors. That's kind of a part weird. That I'm like,
they're kind of like cartoon
only
characters,
their only purpose is to get Vader in. Like that's literally their only purpose. Is there a plot device to go, man, Vader can't scour the universe, so we're gonna do it. Tell him he's gonna show up.
You know what
also, where's Dr. Aphra? Wouldn't that be awesome? I'm just saying, Dr. Aphra shows up in this show.
That would be cool.
That would be awesome.
She's one of the few expanded universe since Disney characters that's really solid. My main problem with this show so far, and it's especially exemplified in this episode because we get the Vader confrontation, is that it seems like the writers didn't get the memo that all the characters are probably going to be different from where they are in A New Hope. Where, like, in A New Hope, Vader is Vader in this episode. He's, like, kind of subdued. He's just, like, a general, and he's, he's Darth Vader, as we know him in the original trilogy.
Right.
But Obi Wan Kenobi has not gotten to that point yet in A New Hope. He's, like, frazzled. He's not yet, like, come to terms with his surroundings. He's kind of living in denial. So there's a change in that character. And I feel like the character of Third Sister, the way that she acts and how vengeful she is towards Obi-Wan is how Vader should be acting in this episode. But instead, we get this kind of weird confrontation where Vader isn't upset at seeing... Like, this is the first time that Anakin has seen his surrogate father since his surrogate father tried to kill him. And he's just like, oh, Obi-Wan...
Did you forget the part where he literally goes, I'm going to burn you like you did me, and literally force drags him through fire? Well, because you got to... So here's... I'll counter-argue some of the things you said.
Okay.
One, I understand the Obi-Wan isn't at the point he is in A New Hope, but I think this is the series that's going to push him towards that.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the
it's
point.
like...
Yeah.
But then I also feel like with Vader, I feel like there's an extent of the character where you are the general of all these people. You can't necessarily lose your composure because of one person, and is doing it in a very Vader way of just kind of like, he's toying with him. Like, he legitimately is toying with him because he's like, oh, I'm going to let you run off and then get you from behind because you can't do anything, and then, like, drags him through the fire, which was kind of brutal because they really did it exactly the same. Like, they did the exact same, like, body positions as in Revenge of the Sith when he's, like, dragging himself onto the shore. I mean, it's not really a shore, but...
If that was like his whole attitude during the episode, I think I would have liked it more. But like because we're talking about where it is sandwiched directly between, like, this is like 10 years before A New Hope for the most part, and 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. But Obi-Wan is on this journey where he's becoming an old man, and he's becoming, well, Alec Guinness in A New Hope. But I feel like now they're saying that like that Vader just sort of flipped a switch. Like when Anakin became Vader, he became the version of him in A New Hope. When like last time I saw Anakin in like this timeline, he was screaming, he was upset, like he was filled with emotion, and now he's more kind of subdued here. Which I would understand if your status quo for a while has just been like, yeah, Ben's out there, I don't really care, I'm beyond him, and then he shows up and they have that little funny duel.
So you do have to remember one thing there. It's been 10 years. He's roughly 30 something at the time of this, because he's 19 in Clone Wars, 20 something in Revenge of the Sith. So he's in his 30s. So I get the whole he's been angry, but I mean we've grown a lot throughout this time. He's been hardened by the war,
I get
by being Vader, having a weirdly deep voice for Anakin, which I'm glad that the voice works.
His vocal cords got all messed up, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
So I get that like it makes sense, but the fact that like you could argue the same way about Obi-Wan in that 10 years. Like he should have changed more than he has in that 10 years. And I think when you have an Obi-Wan that's this like frazzled and scared, Ewan McGregor, you can see he's like terrified, and there's so much regret on his face that Anakin is still alive. This Vader that's subdued and has kind of accepted everything doesn't match as much. I want to see that same amount of emotion where like Obi-Wan is terrified, Vader's pissed, like on the same level. And I just feel like that didn't hit for me, where the confrontation, this like epic confrontation that should have been like we've never seen it before. Like, oh my God, Darth Vader meets Obi-Wan Kenobi for the first time. Just kind of, It feels like the same confrontation in A New Hope, which in A New Hope, that's very different because there's a whole lot of other nonsense going on there. And also George Lucas didn't know their history at the time. But here it's like you had this opportunity to, like I don't like Rogue One, but the scene in Rogue One where Vader shows up and he's going nutso mode, like he's angry. That's like more during A New Hope era. So why is he like, those are, and also those were people he didn't care about. Those were just no-name soldiers. So I feel like that scene that you mentioned about him dragging Ben through the fire, but for the whole episode, I think would have been better.
So I can fully see what you're saying, because I totally do. I have been looking at it as kind of a Obi-Wan has not changed much because he's living in the past. He cannot get over what happened between him and Anakin, but like what happened during the prequels, he's basically still living that in his own head. Whereas it feels like Vader,
yeah, he's definitely moved on.
I feel like he has moved on, has grown without the time.
I don't want him to.
I know. Then I have a feeling that during this, I think it's going to lean towards what you actually want. I think this is going to bring more emotions to Vader's forefront and kind of like snap him a bit more out of it, of like the whole, I have moved past this, and then realizing I haven't moved past this, and is starting to go more vicious of dragging him through fire, like toying with his old mentor, like stuff like that. And like, I feel like it could lead into emotion getting the better of him, because he has been, he's been trained fully as a Sith Lord in the past 10 years. So his emotions have pretty much been wiped out. And I feel like this is going to be one of those, it really brings them back, kind of brings the Anakin back that Obi-Wan's going to probably see, probably going to try and tug at those of like, no, you can still, like, there's still that my brother in you. That sounds weird, but you're still like, my Anakin is still there. And I feel like this is going to be like a real series to show. I think this is going to be the series that leads to why Ben says in the original trilogy, Vader killed your father.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is going to lead into that, where like Obi-Wan truly
like
comes to terms with,
this
isn't Anakin, this is Vader.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Because I mean, because also we know, like, in Revenge of the Sith, like, Anakin does start going by Vader in there, and it's implied, like, through scenes that Obi-Wan already knows that. Like, that's why, like, that's why when Third Sister in the previous episode, she says, like, Darth Vader is, like, still alive. Like, Lord Vader is still alive. Anakin's still alive. And Obi-Wan fully knows what's going on there. But I guess at the end of the day, for me, that frustration, like, I wouldn't have it as much if Third Sister wasn't in the show, because Third Sister, her attitude is what I want Vader to have. And they just invented this character who's so pissed off about Obi-Wan for reasons that we don't know yet. It's pretty goddamn clear. But
yeah, she is the personification of Anakin's anger towards Obi-Wan.
And it's like, why not?
She is Anakin in this, and Vader is Vader.
Yeah, I'm like, well, come on. I want that. Hey, you get Hayden Christensen back, and he's just gonna play Vader from A New Hope. I want to see a Vader we've never seen before, which is emo, like, angry Vader. But anyway, moving on to other parts of this episode. That was most of it. But the first half, like I mentioned earlier, we are back on a desert, which is very disappointing to me.
Yep.
It's a different desert. It's more of like an Arizona desert as opposed to a I don't know, like a Africa desert. Sand.
just sand desert. A cartoon desert.
The Gobi Desert versus, you know, like an hour from where I live in Texas.
Right.
I don't know. There's not a whole lot, like, notable about this episode. There's some, like, fun Easter eggs, I guess. We get a Quinlan Voss reference. Zach Braff apparently was the voice of that mole rat guy.
That's why it sounded familiar. Yeah. Okay.
So that's a fun little nod, I guess. I don't know why these, especially Disney, like, Disney loves to put big name actors behind, like, freaks who show up once.
I feel like a lot of the time it's not necessarily Disney. I think it's some of these actors being like, "Hey, I heard you're doing a Star Wars thing. Can I be
in
it?"
In.
Like, and fair. They'll be like, "Well, we don't want to pay for your look. I'll be a voice. It's fine. All right, sure, come on." Like, I have a feeling it's something more along those lines, to be honest.
I want to be in Star Wars. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to be in Star Wars? Put me in Star Wars. Put both of us in Star Wars.
I like the fact that Obi-Wan is truly sees the worst in everyone now. Like, there is no hope really in Obi-Wan that anyone is good. Like, everyone, he's like, nope, they're going to turn on us. Nope, you can't trust them. Nope, you can't do that. Leia's being witty like nobody's business, and I love that. Like, she is so much Leia. I love it. But, like, Obi-Wan really does have that entire... The world sucks. I can't trust anyone. No one's going to be who they say they are. No one's telling the truth. Everyone's going to turn on you eventually. And I like that. I like that this, like, everything that's happened has kind of turned him into this, because it gives a lot of room for character growth throughout, like, the series, which I was kind of worried it was going to be like, oh, it's just Obi-Wan doing things during the series. But no, it's like truly a, like, evolution of the character. And I am excited about that bit.
I think that's definitely, like, that's the stuff that's working is like Ben's trauma and how he's dealing with it, and how it forces him to interact with other people, and sort of obviously, like, Ewan McGregor acting his nuts off.
Oh, amazing.
He's great. But like, yeah, I guess we talk a little more about Leia, because I've turned on Leia a little. I still think she's doing fine. Like, in a vacuum, I still think she's fine. She doesn't make me cringe or anything, like a lot of people say. But I don't really know why she's still in the show. Like, what else are you gonna do with Leia? Like, I know her point is like, oh, she's supposed to bring hope back to Obi-Wan. But we know that Obi-Wan goes back to that cave at the end of the day and spends another 10 years. I mean, he probably did more stuff in that interim, but eventually he's gonna end back up on Tatooine as an old man. So I just feel like Leia did her job, which was to get Obi-Wan out of that cave so we could have a show and we could have the confrontation between Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi for the first time since Revenge of the Sith.
Well, but she's now, still here because we have to. She's here because we're still trying to get her back.
Yeah, I know, but like in a writing sense, like I know like physically why she's still here, but I just like I wish she would have just like gone home at the end of last episode, so this entire episode could be focused on what matters.
My interpretation of like the purpose behind Leia is once again the fact that it's been 10 years. Obi-Wan has separated from everything, and I think her entire purpose was kind of shown in this episode of she's there to remind him of Padme, to remind him of everything that Padme stood for, who she was, and like, because every single aspect of this show is really kind of throwing in elements that bring Ben back to the prequel days, because we've got other Jedi, the fact that like the people like that there are the rebels, there's the people like sneaking around, they've got Leia who's like he sees Padme in her, and like I think that's like one of those big moments in this, and I'm wondering if like the first half or like the first third is going to have Leia. I'm wondering if we're going to also get like a Luke portion, like where we really see like him.
That would
with
make any
Luke.
sense.
Well, I mean, it might, but it also could, because he's like, oh, maybe we're talking about maybe we're talking about Uncle Ben, like the old man Ben or whatever they call him in New Hope. Like maybe we're
Ben
gonna
Kenobi,
see
though.
Yeah, I know, but maybe like we'll see the reason why he does know him as well as he does, or knows of him, and sometimes do talk to him.
For the first time in A New Hope, though.
No, he knows of him already, I thought.
He knows of him, but they haven't met before. Because Luke is like, are you old Ben? And Ben's like, hello there.
Oh.
That's what
maybe. Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something different then, but I did like with Leia, though, that we did get, like, little sneaks at future things of, like, will you teach me how to shoot kind of thing? Because Leia's a good shot. But I think that Leia, I think a lot of things in this show are going to be elements that are going to remind him of the past, and elements that pull him towards the future of what we see in The New Hope. Like, I think we're going to get a lot of these things that might feel a little forced, but is there to remind you of all these things that did happen, all the connections that are there that you might not traditionally think of, because like it just I feel like not everyone has watched the prequels as recently as we have. And fair. I feel like there are a lot of elements that are going to try and remind you of that stuff.
Yeah. This is definitely rooted in prequel zone.
Yeah, I hope they do a good job with this, like Rogue One, where it felt like it truly actually fit in the time spot that it was. Like, it didn't necessarily feel out of place, and I'm hoping that they're going to naturally do this and not have like a weird Vader meets Leia thing and kind of knows that she's his daughter in some weird way.
Which, I mean, they're edging close to that, but and I think some people in chat are saying that Ben and Luke did know each other. I think it was kept vague in A New Hope. I'd need to watch that again, but yeah, because I know he's just like Ben's like the old man who lives like at the outskirts of town, but
yeah,
it's never. I don't think it's explicitly mentioned that like, oh yeah, Luke and Ben Kenobi have like adventures together.
Well, didn't you know that they're like they're Doc and Marty? They have yeah, they went course. Back to the future, obviously.
Which, hey, maybe this show that's its whole thing. It's gonna be like, yeah, this did happen. Don't think about it too hard. Which I think that would kind of suck if this whole show is just like retconning like gray areas in A New Hope. That's kind of boring.
Right.
But I don't know. I think going forward, because we're already halfway through this show. We have 3 episodes left. Yeah.
It's only 6 episodes?
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
So I don't know where this show's going. Because so far it we've already gotten to the Vader confrontation. So I don't know if it's now going to be the third sister and Vader vehemently chasing after Obi Wan. And if that's the case, I don't know if I care.
All right, ready for my prediction?
Go for it.
Next episode, he's going to somehow get Leia home. Leia's going to do like oh no, but I want to help you. And he's going to be like, no, you're staying here. Go. Cool. That's going to be what the next episode is.
Roll
Episode 5 is going to have some stuff between Reva trying to... I have a feeling she's going to try and do something thinking that she's helping Vader. And Vader is basically going to be like, no, you're not taking this from me. I will literally kill you if I need to.
Yeah.
Get out of here. You're not important. You fulfilled your purpose. And then I think the final episode is going to be... We'll get a big fight between them, and we'll get the complete severing of that bond, so to kind of make sense of the Vader killed your father. Because I really think that right now he is still conflicted of the fact that that is Anakin. Like, he is like, that is Anakin. Like, I know that's Anakin. I know it's Vader, but I know it's also Anakin. And I think this series is really going to be the definitive, this is why he no longer sees any aspect of Anakin.
Yeah, this is when Obi-Wan accepts the fact that like, he knew Anakin was dead, but now he's realized that it isn't. And now he has to fully accept that his friend is gone completely.
Exactly.
That was another disappointing thing in this episode, and I'm assuming now it's left on purpose because this is only halfway through, is that Obi-Wan didn't really say anything to Vader. He was just kind of running away. And that's another thing, is like the last time we saw these two confronting each other, Obi-Wan was like, "You are the chosen one!" and trying to reel him in, being very upset and sad. So I do hope we get something like that. I think I hope we get more of Hayden Christensen, because he's just in a suit this whole time. It's possible that wasn't him in there. We got one scene of his face. I'm sure he's under all that makeup too in the last episode. But I think maybe some flashbacks or something. I don't know.
Oh, we'll definitely get some flashbacks. I mean, come on, you can't have Star Wars without flashbacks.
Obviously.
I wanted to just mention, because I really like the scene of when Vader does show up. He draws his lightsaber, and I actually really kind of like that moment when Obi-Wan's like, I can't raise a weapon to my brother. Like, it's not like
he hesitates.
It was I don't want to fight him.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was as much like I'm going to die. I think it was also, I think it was partly I'm going to die, but I think it was also like no, I can't do that. Like, I still believe he's in there. I can't kill him again.
You can tell he's like shell-shocked, that whole confrontation. He's like, what the hell? This is what you look... Okay. He's like, he's just trying to get away, which is... It's interesting, for sure. And I hope we see the full culmination of that, and it doesn't get, shoved away or anything. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I think that's about it for Obi-Wan. Next week, Episode 4, and then 5 and 6. That's how numbers work.
That is how numbers work.
Anyway, stay tuned to Absolutely Marvel and DC. I'm Dylan. That is Dan. Catch y'all next time.
Dan?
Did I say Dan?
Just add a D to the end of my name. I'm Dan.
That's Dan, not Dan.